Hello.
Wait 1 second. We're live.
Interesting.
What is up, everybody? How's everybody doing? We got a special episode tonight. It's pretty special. We got some guests on, but before we introduce them, it's Saturday. It's a 4-day weekend for high schoolers that go around to our area. I know this is our second episode in like the past 3 days. We had an interview yesterday, but we're going to be right back on our regular schedule next week. But let's just get right into it. Sam's not here. Couldn't make this episode. Jackson is here. But let's just introduce our guests right away. We got the Mazodcast. Guys, thank you for coming on the podcast. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so before we get started into everything Mizzou, would you guys like to explain who you guys are?
Colin, you want to do this?
Sure. We are the Mazodcast. We got started podcasting about Mizzou, I don't know, about 5 years ago. It was born of me and Brendan. We're big podcast lovers. We listened to lots of podcasts, and Brendan decided that he thought he could do it. Like he had the ability to turn a computer on and make our words happen on the interwebs, essentially. And but we knew that nobody would want to listen to us. I mean, we were sort of arrogant. We presumed that we'd be entertaining enough that people would want to listen to us, which takes a certain amount of hubris. But we also knew that we're going to need a topic to draw people to us, and we both loved Mizzou. And so we made it a Mizzou podcast.
Yeah. All right, so you guys said you started about 5 years ago, so you've been through the ups and downs of Mizzou, you can say.
Yeah, we started, and it was Missouri was in the midst of winning their second straight SEC East championship, and then the next year, 2015, obviously the wheels fell off for Mizzou, and they had the protests, and they had some of just the worst luck that has ever happened to the campus all befall them around 2015, 2016. And then we've been climbing out of it ever since. But yeah, so a good chunk of the time Mizzou's been in the SEC, we've been podcasting and sort of building an audience. And even though we're a couple of no-name guys, we've been at it for so long. I think we've sort of built ourselves a little audience by being reliable.
Yeah,
Right.
When we started, it was me and Brendan and a gentleman named Brian Goers, and then we replaced him with a gentleman who is with us today, Caleb Bumgart, and we've been doing this now, the three of us, for a couple years, right? Is that right? All right. So it's close enough.
Is Caleb there, or do you have him murdered, Colin?
No,
I'm here, drinking a beer and listening.
he's chewing. It's hard.
Jackson, you got a question?
Boys, first thing off, how big of bullshit is this?
This guy's cutting out on me.
Yeah, I didn't catch all that.
All right, sorry. Can you hear me?
That guy's
Yeah,
in and
you're
out.
breaking out.
It sounded like a really dramatic question, though. I was looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I think he was going to ask
Jackson,
about
are you
the
there?
NCAA.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear
All right,
me?
yeah, we can hear you now.
All right, how piece of crap is Mizzou band?
If he's going to say how piece of crap is his phone, very.
It's a large piece of crap. Yeah.
Maybe he can write us a letter and it'll get there before the phone call connects again.
Yeah.
We're just going to take over the reins of this here and get you back on the rails.
So you boys have to do a podcast here. Hey, so what's going on, Brendan?
This is called filling, Colin. This is when you fill.
Well, you know what? I feel like I have a gift for that.
We're having technical difficulties with Jackson. I'm pretty sure
that'll happen.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure
Why
he's
you
trying to
don't go
ask
live?
how mad were you guys when you saw Mizzou's ban?
Oh, the NCAA ban?
Yeah, that ban.
Okay, yeah, that's the one. Well, I think at first I wasn't as mad as I was shocked because I think nobody was talking about any of the punishment that we've been getting, and I think I think the athletic department and the administration were just as shocked as the fan base were because the woman who committed these crimes did it on her own with no help from the university, and B, most of what she said wasn't true. So I think we expected this to just kind of go away. And if anything,
I don't know about you, Brennan or Caleb, but I didn't even know the investigation was still ongoing. Like, I didn't know this could even happen because I was so this to me was such a far gone thing that I was like, they were still investigating this? Did you know what was going on?
I assume they already settled it.
Yeah, that was me too.
Yeah, I saw some like the day before. They said the NCAA is gonna have a call early in the morning to discuss like Mizzou, and I was like, okay, maybe something's going on, and out of nowhere we're banned for a whole year. So you were gonna say, sounded like you were gonna say something.
No, I mean, I agree. I can say things, but I don't.
All right, so I mean, with Kelly Bryant going to Mizzou, everyone thought everything was going good. Mizzou football, we're gonna be good next year. We still are, but then this happens. Do you guys think the Mizzou curse really is real?
Yeah, I think I should go with this. Don't you think, guys? Based on my experience with curse removal.
Sure.
So I think maybe after the Kentucky game, I guess this year, we consulted with a real live witch, and we know she was credentialed and had certified because she was on hireawitch.com.
Yeah.
And
where else would you go to get a witch? I mean, honestly.
Yeah, so I forked over $20 of the Mazodcast coffers, which are vast, Scrooge McDuck like, and
he doesn't know who Scrooge McDuck is, Brennan.
And then so I consulted with this witch named Laganisha, I believe, if I recall, and
that was the one.
Yeah, at first this was going to be a tongue-in-cheek phone call, kind of making fun of the kookery of shit you could find on the web, but then she said she listened to my plea about Mizzou being cursed and all these bad things happening into the north end zone at Furrow Field, and my speculation.
Jonte Porter destroying his knee right the year after his brother destroyed his back. Stuff.
I don't even know if Jonte had blown his knee out yet. I can't remember what the order of Mizzou disasters, but anyway, she heard me out, and then she said, well, my spirits are telling me that I can't take this case. And then I thought, well, maybe she is real. If she doesn't want to touch Mizzou's dark, evil spirits, which are obviously some of the most frightening in the universe, then maybe she does speak to the afterlife.
Brennan kept offering her more money. Like, can you remove the curse if I give you more money? And she's like, no, seriously, your curse is real. It is black and evil, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, I think I got up to $1,000, and she was still turning me down. So it's like, this fake witch has integrity.
Official, you know. Yeah. That's how you know she's real.
Yeah, this fake witch has real integrity.
But
so
she offered to have sex with Brennan for $250.
But Brennan, she had never seen it.
Well, that's a separate business that she ran. It had nothing to do with her witching services.
Well, as far as the curse goes, we have discussed it on this show, and Brennan has often mentioned he doesn't like the idea of the curse because he thinks it's loser talk. Like, you know, it's us. But at some point, over the years, there is this cumulative effect where you're just like, every time something good happens to Mizzou, we just get kicked directly in the balls, and it's just like it seems to be so like you could set your watch by it, you know, and just in recent memory, you know, if you just discount the Kentucky game, which is basically implausible for us to lose, we did have Jonte Porter destroy his knee when he was going to be the star of our team. Oh, by the way, it happened a year after his brother, the best consensus player in the nation, destroyed his back after only playing 2 minutes for us. I mean, it's just like, what the fuck did we do to deserve this?
Well, and it is the kind of.
I think we saw in the past weeks with the band. I think that's why we deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, like the band, a perfect example. Like, hey, the NCAA is not very happy with us because we had this rogue tutor. Let's give, you know, Missouri just short of the death penalty. You know what I mean? Like, for 18 years, North Carolina had a illegal class that they just gave the grades to players, and they got nothing for it. And like, we had one fat check bouncing idiot tutor break a couple rules, and they just fucking throw lightning bolts at us. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think she offered a couple handies. Let's be honest.
For sure.
Yeah, it's not in the NCAA report, but that those things go hand in hand, so to speak.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Well, I've seen a picture where you wouldn't want to fuck her face to face.
Yeah. Yeah, then that bitch on Twitter afterwards starts defending herself. Like, fuck you, bitch.
Well, yeah, it does. It's weird that it seems to me that it always coincides with something good happening. Like you mentioned, Kelly Bryant. Like, oh, good, things are turning out. It's like an old Simpsons episode. It's like things are finally turning around for old Mizzou. And then nope, it's we get hit in the nuts with something new, and there's a ton of things that happen that barely make a blip on our radar because we have such disastrous things like Michael Porter Jr. and this ban. Just like the Georgia game, I feel like how a guy dropped the ball on the 1 yard line for Georgia and it didn't get reviewed. But then Mizzou had there were so many officiating things that were just like really horrible and against Missouri this year, but it doesn't even make the top 10 because of the monumental curse shit that happens on it.
Yeah, it's like having anal fissures, but not really being worried about it because the pancreatic cancer you have is kind of dominating your fucking life, your universe.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean those fissures aren't there.
That's right.
Yeah, you still bleed every time you shit.
Brendan, it's kind of like having a black fly in your Chardonnay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, just living Alanis Morissette song.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
Isn't it ironic?
Jackson, can you try to rank a question out?
Rank these quarterbacks. Mizzou history. Brad Smith, James Franklin, Drew Lock.
Kirk Farmer.
Well, it's an interesting choice you've made because I feel like you've left a couple great ones off, like Chase.
I was just talking recent. You could throw Chase in there too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like Chase Daniel was the spark. I mean, Missouri essentially has been on an upward trend since Gary Pinkel around 2007. So I guess we're looking at really 12 years of really expecting Mizzou to make bowl games, compete for divisions, things like that. And Chase was, I guess Brad Smith was the first one, and then Chase Daniel came. I mean, I have Chase.
If you really want to start at the very beginning, and we didn't really pee a drop necessarily, but like Corby Jones was the first quarterback I remember like putting us over the top, like a winning record, like getting us to a bowl game, and that being a big deal because we'd been so fucking terrible for so long, and it just sort of moved, just started keep going up from there.
In recent history, it's got to be James Franklin.
You think?
Yeah, I think James Franklin's I think he's underappreciated for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he wasn't the star of the program like Chase Daniel or Drew Lock has been, or even Brad Smith. But he has as much success or more than any of those guys.
Where would you rank Matty Mock in those?
Cocaine.
Well, like again, what is our measuring stick here? Because if it's like, are we measuring quarterback hair because Kurt Farmer #1? Are we measuring, cocaine sniffing proficiency? Matty Mock #1. Are we just talking about football?
Yeah, Chase Daniel won.
And doing anything.
Yeah. Blaine Gabbert licked a good butthole.
Yeah. Well, see,
don't ask him how he knows that.
Yeah, to me, that's what I was going to bring up. The biggest question mark in the recent great quarterback history for Mizzou was Blaine Gabbert because he did have a lot of success here. He looked like an Adonis. I mean, he looked like if NFL scouts were to sculpt a quarterback that they'd want out of clay, it would look like Blaine Gabbert. But he wasn't all that great. Like, he never had these marquee – well, I mean, he did things like he beat Oklahoma back in 2010 when they were #1 in the country. It was a great moment, but I don't know. I just don't feel like he ever lived up to some of his hype. But then again, he had great success, so I don't know where to put him in that mix. He may
have been too smart for his own good too.
Yeah, well, that's rarely a football player problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I have Chase Daniel #1. I think that Drew Lock has earned his way, at least in this last season.
Yeah.
He's a top 3. I don't know. He hasn't had as much success, honestly. The guys who went to the SEC championship, but then again, I think he had to deal with a lot more adversity than any of those other guys, with the protests, with the Matty Mock cocaine controversy, with just a couple of years of Josh Henson and absolutely no offensive plan. He has the highest upside, I guess, but I don't know where to put him on the echelon.
All right. So with Do you think Drew Lock will be good in the NFL? A lot of people are saying he'd probably just be a bust. What do you guys think he has some potential?
I don't think he'll be a bust. I don't think he's going to be a superstar. I think he's going to be a serviceable quarterback. I remember when Blaine Gabbert got drafted. I was like, Blaine Gabbert's not that good. I mean, he's got happy feet. He just looks, to me, he looked little bit like a fainting goat back there. And I was like, man, the NFL's going to chew him up and spit him out. And they did.
Yeah, it depends on where he goes.
Yeah,
that
I was about
makes
to
a
say
huge
that.
difference.
Because Jacksonville was a shithole.
Yeah, Jacksonville, he's going to be
Whenever
a bust.
Gabbert got there, that team was terrible.
If he goes to
Yes.
the Redskins, he might be something.
Yeah, it depends on the team he
The
goes
Broncos.
I mean, the Broncos, I don't think he'll get the job now because of Joe Flacco.
No, they got Flacco now.
Yeah, exactly.
They got their
Yeah, they do.
They won't get their job.
They got a 34-year-old Frankenstein monster to play fucking quarterback for them. They don't need Drew Lock.
Yeah, Drew Lock's only 6'5", not 6'6".
Yeah.
Elway doesn't want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are they going to get? Blaine Gabbert doesn't have the bolts in his neck like fucking Flacco does. I mean, they're not going to be able to use him.
Yeah, it's John Elway and his ability. For a man who played the quarterback position better than almost anyone, he seems to know less about the quarterback position than anyone in the world of football. But so it may be a blessing for Drew Lock to get the fuck out of there.
What he's doing is freaking genius. He's trying to make sure he stays the greatest Bronco quarterback ever.
Yeah, sure.
He just doesn't want anyone to beat out his legacy. He saw Peyton getting it. He was like, oh, shit, I'm going to have to get him out of here. Trevor Siemian.
I honestly worry that, that Drew Lock will be a little bit Blake Bortles, honestly. And listen, that's saying that Blake Bortles is the worst quarterback that ever played the game, and he's not. Like, Blake Bortles gets a bad rap. Like, he
was in the AFC Championship 2 years ago.
I mean, yeah, well, I mean, he's serviceable. Like, if he's your backup, you're okay with that. You just don't want him to be your fucking franchise quarterback, And so, like, I could see like Blaine Gabbert. Blaine's a little stiff, He's not a super mobile quarterback, and in the NFL of today, where Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are running around like chickens with their heads cut off, whistling balls sidearm at people. I just don't know if Drew Lock is going to be at the upper echelon of quarterbacks, because I just feel like the position itself is changing in a certain respect. I mean, lots of guys had big arms. Fucking Brian Leftwich had a big arm. He sucked. So did Jeff George. So did Blaine Gabbert. I mean, big arms. Who gives a fuck?
I don't think he's like any worse or any better than Jared Goff, and he's doing all right for himself.
Maybe he gets the right system with like a McVay, and they could turn him
he got a good coach and good wide receivers. I mean, that's why he's doing good.
Well, and I think it's not going to be a situation Chase Daniel either lasted longer than any of the guys we've talked about, because Drew Lock's got all those measurables, and I think that sticks with NFL coaches a long time. I mean, Drew Lock, much like Blaine Gabbert, is going to get more than just one chance at it because he looks like a guy who could toss the ball. I mean, Blaine Gabbert's still on an NFL squad. There's a reason for that.
And Lock showed his ability to move this year, which made his draft stock, I feel like, so much better too, because he could actually move.
And he also saw more field. There was up until midway through, I think, his junior season, he was only looking at one or two reads, and then he was done.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think you want Lock to move. You know what I mean? Like, he's a pocket quarterback, and like he showed that he's got the ability to, like, he's not.
Yeah, when he needs
Tom
to,
Brady,
he can.
Like, he's not gonna move your offense with his legs at all, and he's gonna. In fact, he's gonna get destroyed outside the pocket. When you start talking about the level of the speed of defensive end the NFL is gonna have, like Drew Lock needs to stay in that fucking pocket. Stay there. You know what I mean? Like, don't move out of that pocket.
Yeah, we always talked on our show about how when he did run, he looked like a baby deer on a frozen pond. He just looked so scared and lacked confidence. And if you just push it, he is tall and he's fast and he's athletic, but he's a
basketball player.
Yeah, he's never built. He's never. When he is assigned to run, he always looks a little tentative and scared. He looks like you couldn't push a flaxseed into his asshole. It's so tight at that moment.
All right,
but you don't have to ask him to run. Like, it's been proven you don't have to have a running quarterback. That's why I think you pair him with the right offensive coordinator and shit, he could be fine.
No, I agree. If he gets drafted by a team that has a Andy Reid or a Todd or a McVay or like a Belichick or somebody like you get a good coach, like, but you look at the Browns and like Hugh Jackson, they had what's his fucking name?
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. Thank you, Caleb. And Like Baker Mayfield became a much better quarterback when they got Hugh Jackson out of the way, and he was a more like what you don't want is to see Drew Lock and his talents go to a place that's like McCarthy, like Mike McCarthy at the Green Bay Packers.
Oh,
They
Jackson's
pissed away like
Jackson's
2 or
a
3
Packers
good years
fan.
of fucking Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
on fucking that moron. I'm like, God, get a new coach.
Yeah.
Like, how many years are you going to get with Aaron Rodgers? I mean, you want to waste it with Mike McCarthy? Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys kind of talked about Kelly Bryant. It was a good day for Mizzou football. I'm pretty sure most of us will remember that day for a little bit. Before that, where did you see Mizzou going before the ban, I should say? Because now, I mean, they can still go places, but I mean, they can't go to a really good bowl game.
Yeah. So I guess, before we found out about the ban, obviously everybody was very excited about Kelly Bryant because not only, is he a big name and drew a lot of national attention, but we were absolutely without quarterback answers in a post Drew Lock world. So it shored up something that Barry Odom desperately needed to do on the recruiting front. He figured it out with the transfer protocol, but it gave me a lot of confidence in Odom's coaching and recruiting staff to fill that void, especially with a big figure like Kelly Bryant. I was looking at the schedule, and it's pretty light compared to what we went through last year, where we went through the number 1 and the number 2 team in the country within 3 weeks of each other. Replaced Alabama with Ole Miss, and then replaced a lot of those hard road games. And now they're back at home this year for our East Division opponents. So, I mean, I thought like this year, 9 wins, 10 wins is not out of the question if everything goes our way. And of course, that puts us in a decent bowl. And honestly, we talk about the appeal.
Yeah, I was about to say we can try to drag that out.
Right. We just officially put our appeal in on Friday.
Before you say anything, you guys were the first people to say that. Dave wasn't. I'm just giving you guys the credit right there. I saw what you guys put out on your Twitter.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So when we announced that Mizzou had officially launched their appeal, that appeal can last a year. And it's February. So if it went a year, the bans and the sanctions don't kick in until the appeal process is finished. So theoretically, if it went into February of 20, what is this year, 2019? If it went to 2020, we could go to a bowl this year. It basically pushed all the sanctions forward.
Which would be good and bad because then you got to deal with it next year. But I mean, I'm pretty sure we'd be more fine with that because that TCU quarterback that we got has 2 years, not 1 year. And this is Kelly Bryant, who's been in a college playoff game before, and not many people can say that someone transferred to Mizzou who's been in a college playoff game. I mean, we want to see what he can do with this team. So I mean, I'll be more fine with the TCU quarterback being on the ban year than Kelly Bryant.
Well, and that's assuming the appeal doesn't go.
Yeah,
that we lose it.
Kind of talking about that. Do you guys think we are gonna win the appeal?
No.
Do you think there would be a little, do you think there would be a revise on the appeal then?
I could see there being a reduction, but I can't imagine a world where the appeals process goes to the NCAA. So basically, what you're asking the NCAA to do is go, "Hey, we made a mistake." People don't do that.
No, and the problem with the NCAA ruling and the appeals process is that they've essentially made this formula for how to assess a crime and then how to assess punishment, and they've got what they call this matrix. And so if it aligns with, if the crime ticks off certain boxes, then it just provides you this matrix of options that you can be punished by, and you can't do any more or less than what are on this matrix. And what it does is it takes all logic and just human sense out of the process and makes it by cold-hearted robotic just calculations. And so because of that, it doesn't matter how much sense our appeal makes. If it doesn't fit within this matrix, we're just going to be screwed anyway. But my hope is that there are times whenever the public appeal and the public pressure is so much that they have to change the way they do business. I don't think that'll happen for Mizzou because I don't think we have enough support on a national level. And I also just don't think they want to change their ways.
I don't think they would have gave this to Bama.
No,
never.
No.
I know. I'm just saying. But if there was a reduction, I think it would be on baseball because only one of the 12 players that cheated was on baseball, and I feel like that's the sport that would get let out.
I think the NCAA probably in this case, I really feel like they miscalculated to a certain extent, or maybe they didn't, but they know that they fucked up with the North Carolina punishments. They know they've been too soft. And so when Mizzou presented them an opportunity to punish them, Mizzou was cooperating. They're like, here's a program that's Division I, that's known, but isn't blue chip. So, like, we can throw the book at them and kind of redeem ourselves for getting this rep of being too soft. But they went too far the other direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're trying to – this is almost like a makeup call, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it has gone too far, and Mizzou's like, this is just unbelievable. Like, it's –
Something I would say is Barry Odom. If anyone had to win an appeal, I would put all my money on Barry Odom winning that thing. What he says, he gets you hyped up, thinking we're gonna win. His statements and everything. It's interesting to see like some of the schools around the SEC aren't really going behind Mizzou's back and like fighting for them. Some of them are actually saying, "Yeah, make the seniors transfer."
Well, yeah.
That was kind of a little shocking to me. I'm like,
I mean, you would probably do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not that surprised by it. I think Barry Odom made a very strategic decision by calling Tennessee out and some of these other schools that had been trying to poach his players. I think he wouldn't do that if he knew. I mean, if there were players who were actually going to leave right now, he probably wouldn't have said anything because it would have looked bad. Because he would have been losing those players and people could have rubbed it in. But I think he used it I think he sees this whole sanction, and he does it, and he's right, as a rallying cry to unite a fan base that has been really kind of torn apart ever since 2015. And then by telling people that all these other schools are poaching us, he's really kind of trying to frame the narrative that it's all us Mizzou people together, and everybody else is out to get us.
Yeah,
so we got to stick together.
If there is an upside to this, it can unite a fan base. I mean, as everybody knows, Missouri is for large swaths of our state are very rural, and like when there was a protest and it involved, African American students, there was an opportunity for a lot of sort of rural people in our state to be very upset. You know what I mean? And it was just like it took all of a sudden, all these people that should be rooting for the same team were very mad at their hometown university. And it just felt so strange. Like not that long ago at my personal job, my everyday job, somebody just mentioned Mizzou, and these two parents, these just normal people, were like, "Yeah, we'd never let our kids go to Mizzou." And this is how many 3 or 4 years later, like they're still holding that axe because a handful of students, protested, and whether you agree with the protest or disagree with it, it resonated with people.
Some people want the university burned down.
So. Yeah, I mean, they're so vitriolic towards the university because of this one incident. And if there's one upside to this, it may be that it galvanizes once again. Everybody is on Mizzou's side.
To me, that's in the past, and I get it happened, but we're a different program. You can really say, and I got to go to college in a year, and I would still love to go to Mizzou, even knowing stuff like that happened in the past. I mean.
Well, I mean, ultimately, if you break it down, it's silly it's silly for you to make a choice about the university you're going to attend based on a very small protest that happened 3 or 4 years ago. It has no bearing on your education or the quality of education you get, or the football team that is currently in place, or the football coach who was not there, or the athletic director who was not there. The entire brass of the university is all rolled over. I mean, we're talking about, I don't know, it just seems silly to me that but people still hold that. I mean, there are still people that have a butt hurt over that, And I said, if there's one upside of these sanctions, I wish they weren't here. But if they're gonna be here, maybe it brings everybody together a little bit and puts that sort of in the rear view mirror. Hopefully, finally.
I wish they gave them to the fucking basketball.
Yeah, this is a year. This is a year to give them to it.
Yeah, maybe that's what the appeal should be. Is like we're willing to take all of it, all of your punishments, but they all have to go to the basketball team.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want a 3-year ban because Mizzou will be something in 2-3 years for sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Jackson, you got a question?
If they told me, they're like, you could lift your ban from football, but you're banned from the NCAA tournament for the next 10 years. Fuck it, like who cares? I'll do it. Our football team has way better of a chance than our basketball team does. Like, you're telling me in the next 10 years, you think our basketball team can even get close to like the Sweet 16, Elite 8
Sure, I do.
I do.
mean, because
Really?
especially in basketball,
I think our team has a good
basketball's
chance in
such a
3 years.
sport where one player can just turn everything upside down. You get a transcendent player in basketball, you can absolutely ride that one player to a Sweet 16.
Zion
And if
Williams.
you're telling me within a decade we'll recruit at least one player who has really good talent, then yeah, I can believe that.
Let me
Yeah,
tell
I-
you, there's this
I guess you
crazy
could.
world. I mean, this is a crazy world. Mizzou gets like the #1 recruit in the nation. It's going great. I mean, everyone thinks they're going to do great. His brother even decides to reclassify. I mean, this won't ever happen for sure. And then he gets hurt. I mean, that's Mizzou luck too. That never happened though. Michael Porter Jr. That never happened. Anyway, I mean,
Yeah.
it's go on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, the thing about it is to keep in mind is like, look at all the little schools, piddly schools that are making it to Final Fours. You know,
Yeah,
like
Loyola
If
Chicago?
Valparaiso can do it, we can do it.
yeah, Loyola
Yeah, that's
stuff.
true.
Literally,
it's a
you
thing.
get all these freshmen senior year. If you can get all of our freshmen to, okay, let me say junior year, because then you get Mark Smith and all those great transfers, Jeremiah Tillman, maybe even senior year, that team will be really good in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
We're like Tennessee. They recruited a lot of 3 to 4 stars, and now look at them. That's what we're
Well,
going to
and-
be.
You know, and you think about it, in football, you got over 100 roster spots to fill to make a
Exactly.
football team work. And in basketball, you got 12 guys. Like, America is a pretty big place. Like, surely you can fill a roster with 12 guys. With the resources that Mizzou has, there just isn't any reason that a Butler or a Loyola should be in the Final Four, and Mizzou can't be competitive for it.
I would definitely take 1 year of football away to save 10 years of basketball, without a doubt.
I guess what when you make it sound like that, I
That's something I would
I just-
say.
I don't know. I just really think that this football season is going to be one of our best chances for a long time, because you look at the talent we have and the easier schedule. If we were going to make a really good bowl or have a really good year, this year would be one of those years.
It still can be our year with the appeal, which is the thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think that it's hard to say with college football, because, you know, if you're an NFL fan, things just players last for a lot longer. You know, in college, you completely reinvent your team every 4 years, and so Missouri has never been in a position like Alabama where they can stay consistently good for a decade. What they do is put together a 2 or 3 year run, then have to rebuild for 2 or 3 years of tough weather and get like a 5-7 season or two. And then they make another run at it, and so I think that boom and bust cycle is what I predict down the road for more.
I think we kind of asked ourselves this question in one of our episodes long ago about how do we define success for Mizzou's football program? And I think my barometer was, I want them competing for a division championship once a recruiting cycle. You know what I mean? Like, once every 3 years, basically, I want them to jump up and do something.
I want them
Exciting.
to try to win a New Year's Six bowl every 3 years.
Well, but yeah, I mean, sure, and that can
It's
be your
hard.
barometer. I'm just saying, like, I think realistically, Mizzou
Yeah.
is gonna recruit 3-star players, and in those 3-star players that come through, they're gonna play together. There's gonna be player development by the coaching staff, and they're gonna
Exactly.
jump up and some surprise people, because the schedule's gonna line out. You're gonna have the right amount of maturity on your team, and you're gonna jump up and compete for something. But I mean, to be realistic, Mizzou's not gonna do that on a year in, year out basis, and I don't expect them to.
Exactly. We're not Alabama, Clemson, Georgia.
Right.
We're Mizzou.
Man, I hope we get there, but we ain't
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I mean,
I can see Barry Odom changing Mizzou. I don't know about to Bama contention, but I can definitely see him making sure Mizzou's always in the top 25 every year.
I love your optimism.
Yeah.
Thank you. But okay, so let's say Mizzou doesn't go. Let's say Mizzou actually gets the appeal going through February, a whole year. Where do you see Mizzou going? What's their record? And you can give a judgment of what bowl game.
Oh,
I ain't even thought about that yet.
Oh.
I haven't even looked at their schedule yet.
It's really
I could-
easy.
I
The
could
only
answer
hard
it
game's
first.
Georgia.
Yeah, I was about to say, there is a shot if Mizzou played to the potential of their roster next year that they would only lose one regular season game.
And that's
'Cause the rest-
that's an if.
That the rest of it, you look at it and you're like, you probably should, but that there's going to be hiccups in there. Realistically, probably
Kentucky.
2 or 3 losses.
Yeah, I mean, if Mizzou did everything they should have done with the talent they have, they should have gone 10-2 this year. But Barry Odom has shown, if nothing else, the proclivity to snap defeat from the jaws of victory.
They're going to lose 3 games no matter what.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
after 3 years of Barry Odom, I think you can honestly say that slow starts are something that Barry has. It takes Barry a couple games in the season to really get chugging along. I mean, in some of those early games, things don't look smooth, and there's obviously some confused football players out on the field. And I think I can honestly say now that I like Barry Odom, and I think he's a good coach, but he has got some issues with slow starts. I think you see it also in his bowl performances.
I was about to say the same thing.
These guys get complacent and rusty because they get a long break, and it's almost like a restart the season, and you know that Barry's going to have trouble having them ready because it's just like the off season. He has trouble getting them ready for the beginning of the season, and then you get this big break before the bowl game, and he has trouble getting them ready. And I think there's something to that now. I know it's something we talked about very early on with Barry Odom, but I didn't want to say it conclusively because we didn't have that. It wasn't that big a litmus test. But now that we're into it with Barry, and in between the bowl games and our slow starts, I think that's one of Barry's Achilles' heels, and not something he can't necessarily get better at, but it's certainly something that I have noticed about his teams.
Yeah.
Can I bring something up?
Oh yeah, sure.
Well, I was just going to ask, do you guys think anybody knows who the hell we are or why we're talking to you?
They'll know by the title when I post this interview by itself. I mean, people that are joining, if you guys want to explain again, because we've been going at it a while.
Yeah, they'll just get the gist of it.
Yeah,
we're talking about KU and how MU's really sucks. If you guys haven't caught on.
Titties are awesome.
But no, talking about Mizzou's 2019 schedule, their first 3 games are non-conference, and I mean that's pretty usual. But I mean that gives you 3 games to get this team to where they need to be before they play South Carolina. And if they win South Carolina, that's good because then they get an off week and then they go to play Troy, and then that's when they start conference. Pretty much the rest of the conference play, and I feel like that's why this Mizzou team has something. They have those little breaks that are needed in between conference games to get them back to where they need to be if they have a bad performance, and that's why I feel like this Missouri team could maybe lose only 1 game and probably two or 3, but I mean there's a really good chance they only lose 1 game.
Yeah, but one of those non-conference games is West Virginia, and
they're not good. They just lost Will Geyer.
I mean, I don't care if they're good or not. Mizzou's not good in week 2 typically, like they've been saying.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd say we could win it. Like I'm not saying we're not going to, but West Virginia is not like a Missouri State. You're not getting one of those easy D2 schools.
No, but I will say that Will Greer was the heart and soul of that West Virginia team, and we saw that in their bowl game when he was gone. That they were a different squad, and because we've already played Will Greer in West Virginia.
We got by Syracuse, motherfuckers.
Yeah, and they look good with him, and I would be very afraid with a Will Greer led team, but they didn't just lose Will Greer; they also lost their head coach. And so they are in a completely new rebuild situation. So I agree with you that Mizzou is not a good week 2 team, not a good early starter, but I'm certainly glad to hear.
Scary at the end of the year for sure.
Hopefully. Yeah, but I'm glad to see that West Virginia is in disarray. It makes me a lot more confident going into that game.
I think we have a Kansas listener also listening to this because we have a dislike and we never get dislikes. So that's our second dislike ever. It's
gotta be
we have that effect, guys. Trust us.
Oh yeah.
No, I was gonna ask. Do you think NFL wise, Will Greer will do better than Drew Lock?
It all depends.
Will Greer. I like Will Greer.
Yeah, I honestly do probably like Will Greer better than Drew Lock, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
it
should be interesting to see whether Oakland drafts. If they draft a quarterback, there goes Dwayne Haskins.
I will say this about Will Greer. I feel like he has the Johnny Manziel gene. Like I can see Will Greer going off the rails, and burying himself in a pillowcase of cocaine and disappearing from the league.
We already know he has big dick energy. He's got a goddamn kid.
Yeah,
he's a man.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's true.
I was gonna.
I did not argue that.
What were you guys' thoughts on Kyler Murray choosing football? Do you think he is something in the NFL? We've been talking about it lately.
I think it's smart.
You think
I think
him
it's
going
so
to the NFL
smart.
is a lot smarter?
So here's
Colin's wrong.
I think here's why I think it's smart. Then Caleb can give his case. You can go to the NFL. You're going to make less money if you made it in the MLB, you would make more money than you ever will in the NFL. But that's to say that you would make it. You can go to the NFL. You can piss away 3 years of your life, and if it doesn't work out, baseball will be waiting for you. People will still put you back into the program or back into the minors. They will still try to develop you. They will still try to make you a player. If you skip the NFL right now and go to baseball 3 years, football will forget your fucking ass. You will never get another chance at that. So to me, you go with football. If you make it, you make a fucking shitload of money and you're famous. And if you don't, you always got baseball to fall back on. But it doesn't work that way.
He gave up
if you do it
almost.
opposite.
He gave up almost $6 million though in baseball, all guaranteed.
No, I mean, I understand that. All I'm saying is
I
that
agree. I think he should have played baseball because he could blow his fucking knee out and never play
Exactly,
either one of them.
but he still
Well,
gets the $6 million.
I guess
in
I'm looking at it from the
NFL.
standpoint that if you go with football first, it gives you the opportunity to play both sports. But that's the only way.
I was about to
Well,
say.
Colin, I think you're also making the assumption that he really prefers football. You know,
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying I understand the decision to play football.
I think he's 5'10", and there's no other fucking quarterback besides
5'9".
Drew Brees
Yeah,
that's
but
ever
you know
been
what? You know what? Like
anything.
the thing, he can waste 2 years trying to figure it out in the NFL. If he's not going to work, somebody will fucking sign him to
Well,
a
I
baseball
wish my
contract.
kid had a decision one day.
God damn it!
I just
Yes.
think like,
Bitches decisions.
if I was an NFL GM,
Fish heads,
And-
talk about Mizzou.
if I was an NFL GM, I would not take him first round. I couldn't. Like, to me, I know how athletic he is, but
I mean,
damn,
he just
like,
won Heisman. When was the last time a Heisman?
Johnny
went in
Manziel
the
won
se-
Heisman.
Okay,
My-
no, you didn't let
listen,
me
guys.
finish. Hey, you didn't let me finish my
Heisman
question.
played
When was the
good.
last time a Heisman didn't go in the first round?
Here's my theory with him playing football first is predicated on him being drafted in the top 10. Like if he's going to be drafted in the second fucking round, then screw it, go to baseball.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, like the top 10 this year for the NFL isn't like they don't need quarterbacks. The Cardinals have Rosen. I mean, you can argue that they're shitty quarterbacks anyway, but they're not going to pick
The
one.
Raiders might need one.
The
The Jags
Raiders
might need
could.
one.
It's possible. Oh, the Jags and Giants are probably the two.
The Redskins.
My theory about baseball versus basketball is predicated on him being drafted top 10 because if he's drafted top 10 or even in the first round, some coaches are going to be committed to him for probably 2 to 3 years, which means he's going to get a shot. But if he's going to be drafted in the second round, there's no guarantees. Just go to baseball. But if you get drafted top 10, some coach is going to give you an honest opportunity to make it.
Let me tell
If
you,
you don't make it, you can go to baseball.
if he's not in the top 10 and a playoff team can grab him, they will grab him without a doubt to get publicity. Without a doubt.
I don't think honestly, most teams are interested in publicity. You know, if they were
I mean, why would the
interested in
Browns?
publicity, they would have drafted. Everybody would have lined up for Tim Tebow. Like, I think most coaches look at publicity as a fucking distraction. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's like Michael Sam. Michael Sam performed pretty well in the preseason, but what people didn't want is a goddamn, you know, your third string defensive end who plays special teams having a fucking crowd of 25 people around him after every game doing an interview. Like,
Yeah.
teams
Yeah.
don't want that in their locker room. So they don't, like, he's okay, he's good enough to play in the NFL, but fuck him, I don't want to deal with him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't want to deal with the shit that comes with him.
Yeah.
I don't think it's about him being homosexual. I think it was about him just like, we don't want 25
There's too
people
much
in the fucking
attention.
locker room interviewing our third
Yeah.
string the fucking defensive end. It's just not worth it.
Tim Tebow, man. About being-
Okay, so let's just say Kyler Murray gets drafted by the Raiders. Do you think he should try to play both sports?
No.
I think those days are over. I don't think a professional franchise with the money they invest in anymore, they don't want Deion Sanders. They don't want Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
You don't
I'm
think they
dropping
would?
a fucking shitload
You don't
of
think
money
they
on
would
you.
allow
I mean,
it?
haven't you seen what's in Mahomes' contract? He can't even play basketball for fun.
Exactly. Well, and do you want him to play fucking basketball? He's your
No.
franchise. You know what I'm
No.
saying? Like,
Exactly.
Especially if they're your
who knows
quarterback.
Kyler Murray's Patrick Mahomes' skill level.
It doesn't matter.
it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. If you're going to invest that sort of money in the motherfucker, he's not going to play two sports.
Especially a quarterback. I've never seen a quarterback play both.
Yeah, Deion Sanders being a cornerback is different, or Bo Jackson
Yeah,
being
Right.
I get that point. I will give you that. But I mean, I'm just saying there could be, maybe
Well,
he
here's-
does it. Kyler Murray would be the person to do it because I mean, I think
Well,
that's
here's the other thing. You have a playoff game in October, or you're starting Sunday Night Football. Like,
that happened
which
for
one are you-
Dion,
Okay, but
and
Dion
he did
was a
both.
corner.
My prediction is that in 4 years, Kyler Murray will be a name that you vaguely remember somehow as being a story way back when. Because I don't know that he's going to be all that successful in
I
either
don't think
area.
he'll be that great, but I mean, he's literally a coin flip.
Yeah, it's tough.
Do you have another question to ask Jackson?
No, I didn't have anything I was gonna say.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that's probably going to be the end of this podcast. We really do appreciate you guys coming on this show. If you guys want to shout out your podcast, go right ahead.
Go for it, Brennan.
Okay.
Do it, of course.
We're the Mizzodcast at Mizzod, Mizzodcast. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, not Tinder, Grinder. Yeah, and all those places. And we've been covering Mizzou we're going into our 6th season. And I think the one thing, as you probably noticed, is that we like to talk about sports. We know a little bit about it, but we like to screw around. So we do things like Kansas News, where we always report on important things going on in Kansas. And we have important interviews with people on the team, things that other programs don't have. So we hope you tune in.
We don't have a boss.
Yeah.
When do you guys
right.
post or publish an episode?
So during the football season, we're pretty regular where we, I think, what do we do? It's Saturday nights or Sunday mornings, whenever right after Mizzou plays during football season. And then we usually do one around Wednesday or Thursday, sort of a pregame show where we interview somebody.
Where we tell you about the opponent upcoming, and then we do the post game wrap up show. So, and the wrap up show on the weekend basically is the main show. It's an hour long.
I make picks at midweek. People pay me with Venmo money and drugs.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and then in the off season, like now, it's kind of catch can. If there's something interesting, if enough Mizzou stories build up, or if we have enough time away from our friends and families where we can get drunk and talk into a microphone, we'll do a show. But there's no regular schedule around.
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, some SEC news. Number 1 is down 11 points right now with 8 minutes left.
I'm not
Who's
sure.
that?
Losing to Kentucky.
Tennessee's getting beat by Kentucky.
Yeah, Kentucky's really good.
Yeah.
Hey, we played it Tuesday.
I couldn't believe it. LSU beat Kentucky, and it just makes that LSU loss hurt even worse.
Yeah. Well, I have I went into this season and said I'm not going to have emotions about Mizzou this year. I know they're going to be bad, and despite that, that LSU game was
I knew we weren't going to be as good as last year, but I didn't expect us to be this bad.
No.
I did. I just thought.
I tried to tell you, Josh.
We don't have any star players. Everybody. The thing about it, the thing I knew that we weren't going to be good this year was that if you really look at it, we were only a mediocre team last year. We lost in the first round of the conference tournament, and then we snuck into the NCAA tournament and lost in the first round. I mean, that's not the hallmark of a good team. And then we lost all our best players.
Yeah. If we would have had Jonte, I could have seen us being like last 4 out or NIT or something like that.
NIT champs.
But not even that. But once you lose your literal best player you had left with experience, it's terrible. And then you're probably arguably one of your other better players, Jeremiah Tillman, fouls out every game, so you really
He's getting better at that.
I mean, and then
but still,
it's like I don't know. I feel bad for Kunzo this year.
Well, I think the real workhorse that he lost that people aren't taking into account is Cassius Robertson.
Well, yeah, I mean, Mark Smith is kind of filling in those shoes, but there's still a lot. Cassius had bigger shoes.
Robertson was great.
If he was on that team for 4 years, oh my gosh, it was so much fun to watch him.
Tournament.
Well, we appreciate you guys having us on.
Yeah, for sure. We really do. If you guys want to come back on, you guys are welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yep. Make sure to go check them out, guys. They linked we'll probably link everything below.
Cool. Appreciate it.
All right. Mm-hmm. That's probably going to wrap up. This interview went a little bit longer than we expected, but that's going to wrap it up for this KC3 Takes episode. We'll catch you guys back out on Tuesday. Other than that, peace.